Welcome back to Focus Today, and I got to tell you that it's always a delight to have Dr. Gerard Lameiro with us. He's a philosopher, an economist, an engineer, and the author of some great books, and of course the great book, The Great News for America. And he holds there's a picture of it there on the screen, still extremely relevant, and let me encourage you to get a copy of it. Check it out at Barnes & Noble or at Amazon, Great News for America. But Dr. Lameiro has a distinction here at theDove, the highest YouTube view ever. 127,000 in 1 week, and that was the week before the election. So a lot of people really grabbed onto your positive message, Dr. Lameiro, and wow, are you still as optimistic today as you were that day?
More so.
Well, then good.
I am.
Wow. Well, listen, you know, I have to tell you, I never did read The Art of the Deal by Donald Trump, but I did get a copy of it, and I finally read it. And there's a lot of takeaway from it. There's a lot of things that are kind of interesting, but the one takeaway is that no matter what he did, he's got a positive attitude. Do you think that optimism has spilled over into America in spite of all the opposition?
Oh, yeah. If we look at the things that have happened since the election, America is very optimistic. We not only had all the various highs on the stock market and that, but we also see some recent indices of optimism. For example, Investors Business Daily runs what they call the IBD tip polls, and I think they're, for the most part, fairly accurate from what I can tell. And they now showing roughly a 13-year high in optimism on their economic optimism outlook. And that's one poll. There's another one, National Federation of Independent Businesses. They do a consumer, an optimism poll, basically. And once again, they're showing that small business optimism is strikingly high. And you just go down the list. Consumer Confidence Index is at, I think, a 12-year high. Americans are very optimistic because they think the economic problems are finally going to get addressed, and they think the terrorism and immigration issues that have been plaguing the country for literally years and years are finally going to get addressed.
You know, looking at this from all angles, it appears to me that we have an incoming president that is looking at everything from an economic position. In other words, if it's not cash flowing, it's either going to get renegotiated or canceled. Am I wrong?
No, I think basically he's looking at everything from sort of a common sense point of view, which actually is refreshing, because rather than trying to be politically correct as other presidents we won't name were, he's trying to take everything from a common sense point of view. For example, let's take the State Department. You know, the State Department has been worrying about, I think, things related to gay issues and things related to climate change, and he doesn't see that as really the main area they should be concerned with. He's going to probably reorganize the State Department to focus on counterterrorism and on negotiating our way out of sticky situations around the world. We have problems in the Middle East. We have problems in other parts of the world. China, for example, building out in the South China Sea. He's going to make the State Department do state-type work for a change and not worry about climate change, which he, I think, believes is truly a hoax.
Okay, do you think the market will break 20K and close above 20K anytime soon?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's probably likely. I think that, you know, we're going to see the economy go up. I mean, we are seeing now all sorts of companies lining up saying that they're going to hire more people. You know, one of those those optimism indices looks at and bases the optimism on components. And one of the components says that they expect the economy, 50% of the respondents among small business people think the economy is going up. Well, with that kind of optimism, you also have people that are going to naturally want to hire. They're going to naturally want to invest. They're going to be putting money into new buildings, new product lines, new services. In other words, people are starting to think, maybe it's time to go. We're on our way up, and let's get on the elevator before it takes off.
Do you think that the value of the Dow is starting to become real? A lot of people thought it was very much inflated. If it reaches 20K, do you think those are real numbers, or it's still a little on the inflated side?
Well, actually, what you're talking about is the asset bubble created largely, I think, by the monetary policy. And so we have to sort of unwind some of that Keynesian monetary policy, which tends to inflate certain asset groups. And what you're going to see are a lot of things going on at once. And so it may all average out, but have an uptrend. And what has to average out is the fact that certain industries are going to do well. For example, energy, I expect, is going to do better. Why? Because we're going to be able to drill more. We're going to be able to, use new innovative techniques without so many government regulations. By the way, just the elimination of regulations, which is a real boat anchor on this economy, getting rid of the number of regulations and the number of areas that Trump intends without hurting safety or without hurting the environment, which can be done. A lot of regulations are simply bureaucracy gone amok. That in itself is going to raise the economy. So we have a lot of factors at play, and that's what an economy is, and that's what a free market is. And we're also going to see more likely more innovation. We may get some more vaccine manufacturers. There have been so many regulations thwarting the healthcare industry and innovation. It's ridiculous. We should be the best in the world as we used to be, instead of hamstringing our healthcare industry.
Very well said. All right, before I take a break, let me ask you this. He said we're going to build the wall and Mexico's going to pay for it.
Right. That's true.
All right. Tell us how that is done from your perspective.
Well, there are lots of ways. For example, a lot of Mexicans come to the U.S. to work, and that's good that they want to add to our economy, and they send money back home. They transfer money back into Mexico to help their families who probably can't get a job or earn as much. A simple 5% tax on money that goes back to Mexico might pay for the wall pretty quickly. That's just one way. There's quite a few ways you can do it.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. But apparently, what do you think he's going to do in the way of executive orders within, say, the first 100 hours?
Oh, I expect a lot. I don't know if you saw my article on my 6 predictions for what he's going to do on Inauguration Day. Besides get some Kentucky Fried Chicken. I think he loves that. They say he serves it on the Trump plane and that. Well, what I think he might do, and this is not based on analytical modeling, this is just based on reading a lot of stories about Donald Trump and talking to people who know him, that sort of thing. I think that he may pull out his pen, and I mentioned this to you, I think, last time.
Right.
And I think at one point you even suggested it for him. I think he might just pull out the pen during the speech and sign a couple of executive orders for dramatic effect. And if he doesn't do it then, or even if he does it then, he's going to sign quite a few other executive orders pretty quickly. I think right after the inaugural address is over, I think he's going to go to a little room in the Capitol nearby where they're having the 3-course luncheon.
Right.
And I expect he's going to sign some other things. And if you have time, we can talk about some of the things he might sign.
Yeah, I want to do that after the break. What do you think of the opposition? I mean, wouldn't it be sad that if most of the problems on Inauguration Day are done by Americans and not terrorists?
Well, I think, let's face it, they're sore losers. I mean, we had a fair election. If anything, the votes that appear likely to have been stolen. There looks like there's some dead people who voted. And in Detroit, when we had the recount that Jill Stein requested, I think they found more Hillary Clinton votes, than there were registered voters in the city of Detroit. And so it looks like, if anything, Donald Trump might have actually won the popular vote as well as the Electoral College vote. And among the counties, there's about 3,100 plus counties across the country. Trump won 2,600 of those 3,100 counties. So Hillary won essentially, some of Illinois and New York and California, and most of her votes came from there. And some of the large cities like Philadelphia, Detroit, etc. So I basically think that they should just acknowledge the fact they lost and sort of pick up the message. They've been jamming down our throats a lot of things that are not part of traditional American values. They want to ignore the Constitution. Obama talked about having a pen and a cell phone as if that's all you need. We have a Constitution that says you need 3 different parts of government: the judiciary, the legislative branch, and the executive branch. The president doesn't get to do all 3.
Yeah. All right, let me take a break. We'll come back. I'll have you go through your predictions, the first 100 days of the incoming Trump administration, only 2 days away. Dr. Lameiro's with us. You can go to greatnewsforamerica.com and check out his website and look for the book. Pick it up at the stores or online at Amazon. Great News for America. It is terrific. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Focus Today, and always a delight to have with us Dr. Gerard Lameiro. He's a philosopher, he's an economist, he's an engineer, and he's author of several books. And the one that's really impacted us is a book entitled Great News for America. There's a picture of it there on the screen. And when I first interviewed Dr. Lameiro about his book and predictions, things started to build, and lo and behold, he still holds a significant record here at theDove television, and that is that he's received more views of the interview that I did with him on YouTube than anybody else. 127,000 in about a week watched our interview 1 week prior to the election. In that book, he writes a lot about where we are, where we're going. And you kind of, and I'm paraphrasing here, Dr. Lameiro, you think we're in for a couple of decades of conservative right of centered governance. You still believe that?
Absolutely. And by the way, Great News for America was written in 2015, and I saw what was going to happen, a historic and critical presidential election, and it happened. And nearly all of my predictions have already come true. Some are about to come true. For example, that we're going to get a Supreme Court that is a super conservative majority. And so they're all taking place. But one thing the readers may not realize if you haven't read the book is that I'm also predicting one of the 10 predictions is a conservative era. I break up America's constitutional history into 7 eras, and each one was a kind of a different focus in the court and in the country, and including the culture. And I'm predicting a conservative era in American history that'll last till at least 2050 or beyond. And the book explains that, and listeners might really enjoy looking ahead to what's coming, because the book ends very optimistically. We're going to see great things, literally. And this election is great news for America, and we're going to see a lot of great things. Definitely a conservative supermajority in the Supreme Court, but there are going to be other things too. Changes in the culture, changes in our strength militarily, changes in the economy. It's going to be a booming economy. We are at the beginning. It's going to take about 2 years to fully turn around the socialism that was embedded in this economy from the last 8 years. But it's going to get turned around, and when it does, watch out. It's going to be a wild ride on a great economy.
Do you think there's a return to morality? I mean, that's a broad statement, but I mean, do you think we're going to go back to traditional morals?
Yes, I do. I think there's still a battle that's playing out, and it's actually in my next book, which I'm working on, and it's the battle over what I call sexualism. Now, sexualism is a word that traditionally meant sexual discrimination, but I don't mean it that way. I have a new definition. Sexualism, to me, is the last gasp of socialism, and it's using sex as a tool to coerce people and to control people and their lives. And you do that by destroying marriage and destroying other institutions on the basis of sexual freedom and sexual liberation, and I put those in quotes, but because they're not healthy and they're not moral for the nation. And sexualism runs amok and runs smack into the Christian church, because the Christian church has always had strong moral values that it upheld. That's why Christianity is under attack by the proponents of the new socialism, which I call sexualism.
That's very interesting. Can't wait till it's out. All right, let's go to a couple of your let's go to a couple of predictions that you wrote about. You gave 6. Highlight a few for us, Dr. Lameiro.
Well, on day one, I think Donald Trump's going to surprise everybody by making it not so much about celebration and about ceremony, which is what traditionally inauguration days are. I think he's going to make it more about working. I think there's going to be work interspersed throughout the day. I even think when the parade is over, he's going to get together with his cabinet, the appointees, because not all of them will be, officially approved by the Senate. And that I think he's going to have a working session that day. He's going to only go to 2 balls, I believe, and I think he's not there so much for celebration. He is itching to get working. He wants to solve these problems. They've been annoying him for years. He finally took action and ran for president. Now he wants to solve them. And he's basically a workaholic. He doesn't believe in much sleep. He doesn't seem to need any. He's got lots of energy. So I think he's going to start working. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is a prediction, if he skips the inaugural luncheon, 3-course. I hear it's very good, very tasty, and actually starts working in the U.S. Capitol, and then just hops in the limo and stops at Kentucky Fried Chicken or Wendy's or McDonald's or some fast food place on the way to the parade.
The blue-collar billionaire. Boy, he's touched
That's right.
Okay, where does this relationship go with the press? Now, the press has just gone ballistic because they're going to move the press room somewhere else, maybe over into the executive office building, which is kind of interesting. The press has gone ballistic on him right now. Where do you see this going?
Well, first off, let me give you some breaking news. This morning, Trump said that he's not going to move the press room, but he will determine who gets to sit in it.
Ah. Well, there you go.
So that's kind of breaking news this morning, and I've been up a long time. I was on Santa Rosa radio early this morning. Then I need to do a show in Texas, and when I get off, I'm doing a national. When I get off this show, I'll be doing a national show, and then this afternoon I got more.
Wow, good for you! Wow. So he's not going to move. He's going to stay there. There are only 49 seats in that room.
Right. And I think maybe what they'll do is change the protocol. Certainly, they're not going to have, the ones who are the oldest or the closest to death, sitting in the front row. What they're going to do probably is rotate it. Maybe Monday will be Bloggers Day. Maybe Tuesday will be Foreign Press, and maybe they just do it differently. To try to shake things up a little bit and get more people involved. He wants the press to be strong and robust, and most importantly, he wants it to be free.
Yeah.
He wants real news, not fake news.
Okay, so are you worried about him tweeting?
Not at all. I think it's good for the country because he is directly communicating to America and the world. He does not have to go through the filter of the old, I call it the old now, mainstream media. because they are no longer trusted. 70% in what we think are honest polls tell us that the American people don't believe them. And then, by the way, let me comment on something that's recent news, too.
Yeah.
Well, news in quotes. And that is these approval ratings, where they're saying he has the lowest approval rating of anybody.
Fake news, isn't it?
What?
Fake news, isn't it?
Well, let's just put it this way. If you look at the underlying samples, and that's what I run to first, who's the sample that they're polling? And you find out that it's oversampling of Democrats, undersampling of people that support Trump. What do you expect the numbers to be?
Yeah.
I mean, I can run a fake poll and give you any answer you want. Tell me the answer you want, and I'll count the right number of people in the right categories.
Well, when I was chairman of the Republican Party in the state of Oregon, we called those push polls, so you can get anything you want out of them.
Well, these are not push in the sense where you hand them the answer. These are legitimate questions, not push questions. But the difference is the sample size.
Yeah, there you go.
You have to have a sample that's representative of the electorate. If you just come up with some off the wall group of people that, have way more Democrats and way more liberal independents, you don't get a fair number. Those numbers I have to question in their entirety. And I think Obama's going out, according to them, with 70% approval rating.
Yeah, right. Right. Listen, he certainly wants to change the tax structure. I don't know what that totally looks like as it relates to the IRS, but as it relates to corporate America, he wants to bring the corporate tax rate way down and simplify it. And he's already bumping up against what would be comprehensive, which is a nice word for confusion, of maybe even in the House from Paul Ryan of what a corporate tax cut looks like. How much pressure can he put on the House to get what he wants for a corporate tax cut?
Well, Congress has not had any strong leadership in years on the Republican side. That's just a fact of life. Those people are great legislators. They are great managers. They are good at standing up and organizing the group, getting them together for meetings. Leadership, no. Donald Trump is, first and foremost, a leader. He is our current day General Patton. He is tough. He's a leader. He doesn't get bullied. He's strong. And he will, I think, prevail in battles with Congress because he has an agenda. He's got a mandate. He's got strong people that are good. And we need a much lower tax structure for corporations that will help to keep them in the U.S. I mean, they're leaving because of the tax structure in part.
Yeah. All right. Who's going to run the Democratic Party? The Clintons, they're done. Obama, he's not effective. Nancy Pelosi, really? I mean, where does the Democratic Party go these days?
Well, I think they go down. Literally. I think they've been going down. The number of Democratic office holders across the country, top to bottom, is the lowest it's been. I mean, top, highest, White House down. They don't have the White House anymore, obviously.
Right.
And that is the lowest it's been since the 1920s. It is a minority party in the sense that it doesn't have many seats it holds. It doesn't have a farm team. It has a lot of dinosaurs, people that we've seen for years and years and years. And they're getting older and older, and they're going to have to retire at some point. So I think it's going to go to some millennial socialists. I think they may even change the name of the party to what it truly is. It is the Socialist Party. And I think they're going to be out of office for at least 2 decades, probably 2 generations.
Wow. All right. So what do you think's going to be the attack? They tried to say it was Russia fiddling around with the election, and they were trying to put a wedge between Trump and Putin. He certainly Obama's tried to put a wedge between Trump and Netanyahu. What's the next attack?
Well, I think they're going to do all sorts of things. We had Maxine Waters a couple days ago saying that Trump should be impeached, and I heard her say this. She was being interviewed, I think it was on MSNBC, and she said Trump should be attacked because he had a strategy to beat Hillary Clinton. And I thought, oh, okay, that's a reason.
Wow.
And I guess that means Hillary didn't have a strategy. That's absurd. And then the follow-on argument against Trump was that he colluded with Russia to beat Hillary. I don't think he colluded with anybody. I think he just did his tweets and went to a whole lot of rallies that people just came out. That's why the approval rating numbers, too, are wrong, because it was only a few weeks ago that every time he went somewhere, he had a huge crowd cheering for him. He has a tremendous amount of support among the American people.
Wow. I got less than 1 minute. Give us one more quick prediction.
Obamacare is going to go fast. We're going to get a free market in health care that is going to be wonderful. It'll be the best in the world. Our economy is going to be booming in 2 years. If we do a show 2 years from now, we'll be talking about something like, what do you think? Do you think the Dow Jones will go over 30,000 in the next few years? And I'll say, yeah, there's a chance.
Wow.
I think we're going to be doing well.
All right. Well, let me encourage our viewers and listeners. You may want to check out his book. He talks a lot about all of these things in the book. It's really well documented because he did a lot of research on previous election cycles. Great News for America by Dr. Gerard Lameiro. And check it out. And we're waiting patiently for your next book. Have you given it a title yet?
Well, I did, but last time I changed the title several times, so I better not tell you the title. It may be a different title when it comes out.
Okay, I'll give you that. Thanks, my friend. You're a great American. God bless you, and look forward to many more times together.
God bless you, your staff, and all your listeners.
All right, thank you, Dr. Lameiro. All right, we'll see you next time on Focus Today.